up, everyone? Welcome to the Agents of Fandom podcast. I am your host, TJ Zwarich. I am joined, as always, by my co-host and my friend, Garrett Blaney. How's it going, Garrett?
It's going. It's a good day to have a day, and I'm excited to do my favorite thing, as always. So.
And I mean, I wanted to start off the podcast by saying you're gonna like us when we're angry because we're ready to talk some She-Hulk. But how can I be angry? We are starting up the podcast in a hype train. Like, gotta love these live shows we are now doing on Twitch. If you're listening to this on YouTube or podcast, you're missing out right now because we got a hype train going. We have a very special guest today to talk some She-Hulk, talk some Obi-Wan Kenobi with us. We are joined from comicbook.com. A guest we've had in the past, but I got to tell you, I watched Revenge of the Sith this morning, and my power has doubled since the last time I saw you, Chris. So
is that right?
You better be worried. We're joined by Chris Killian from comicbook.com.
I'm so excited. Thanks for having me, guys. It's good to see both of you again. I've missed you both.
Missed you too, man. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute. But it's good to be here. Let's talk some She-Hulk. I every time you say let's talk She-Hulk, I think you're about to say let's talk some and I'm like, what? Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Actually, it's gonna, because you said you got a lot of positive things to say about it, and I'm gonna counteract it with the cynicism. That's what I'm gonna bring to the table.
I love it.
Exactly. And so that's why I brought up that although that line was stuck in my head from Revenge of the Sith this morning, and I brought it up that my power has doubled because I'm ready to go toe to toe with you in some friendly discussions. But before
Chris,
we get
I think you were our first guest, to be honest with you.
Was I?
I think you were our first ever guest. So it's nice to go all the way back around and kind of do a little trip down memory lane, it feels like.
Yeah, or go backwards, however you want to look at it. It's one of the two. I'm sorry that you guys are having to rely on me again.
Or we just started with the bar so high. That's what I'm gonna say.
Oh, that's so nice of you. That's really nice of you guys to say. Well, let's get into it, guys. Let's talk about some stuff.
Let's do it. So thank you to everyone joining us live on Twitch, starting out in a hype train. It's awesome. We've seen a bunch of people subscribe, a bunch of people gift some subscribers. I love to see it. Every time I think I see somebody gift a subscriber, I'm just gonna do the exact same thing, and I'm just gonna hit that gift button until the money in my Twitch account runs out. But we got a lot of fun things to talk about today. If you're watching this later on YouTube or listen on the podcast, please hit the like button on YouTube. And yeah, let's get into it because we got a very big show today. I think I don't know if that's Ruben or somebody might have.
No, that was me. I was trying to find the actual Twitch stream, but but I was like, I give this up. I'm not gonna try.
That's all right. That's no worries at all. We're gonna have kind of a two-part episode today. We got some Marvel to talk about, obviously headlined by the She-Hulk trailer. Then we're going to be talking about some Star Wars news headlined by Obi-Wan Kenobi that's going to be premiering on Disney Plus in 9 days, next Friday, May 27th. And so that's coming soon. We're excited about it. But before we talk Star Wars, we are gonna start talking some Marvel. And so before She-Hulk, I want to talk about the first Thor: Love and Thunder trailer, or it's not trailer. We talked about that already. The most recent still we saw that gave us a great look at jacked the mighty Thor, Jane Foster, King Valkyrie, Tessa Thompson, as well as potentially Bast. Now, I know you saw this picture, Garrett. What did you think of this look?
I loved it. And I also want to say, like, Thor is my favorite superhero. And before Multiverse of Madness, when we were talking and we were kind of like asking everybody where their rankings and everything were for the movies of the year, I'm a little disappointed in myself. I put Thor 2 because I was just expecting so much like information about the MCU in Multiverse of Madness, which we didn't get, but it's okay. I loved the movie anyways. But now we can move on to rightfully my most anticipated movie of the year, and this still just only increased that hype for me. I mean, I love looking at jacked Natalie Portman. Tessa Thompson can do no wrong, and then if that is indeed Bast, I think that's interesting that they're giving us a first look in a still. So I can't wait for this movie.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting one. And Chris, I know you're trying to stay as like spoiler free as you can from this one. So I just want to know, more so than what you thought of the photo, where's your hype levels for this film? Like where does it compare for you in terms of the MCU right now?
Off the charts. I mean, Thor Ragnarok is like it kind of goes back and forth between that and Civil War is my number 2 and my number 3. Those were originally my 1 and 2. Spider-Man No Way Home is like my favorite MCU movie now. I know it's new, but I just love it so much. But yeah, Thor Ragnarok turned Thor as a character around for me completely. I just love that movie. I love Taika Waititi's sensibilities and the humor that he brings to it. So, my favorite part about Infinity War and Endgame were essentially any time that Chris Pratt and Thor were together, at like to the point where I want a whole buddy comedy out of the two of them and throw in some, maybe throw in some Rocket or whoever else. But those two guys together are hysterical. So I mean, I can't wait for this. But I just love that Garrett said that he loves looking at jacked Natalie Portman. I was like, oh, I love it. Do you? No, it's she is really like, she's got some arms like now. I was like, yeah. When I saw the picture, I was like, dang, she's been lifting a real hammer like that. Yeah, those. It's pretty impressive how much work she's put into it to kind of like look the part next to Chris Hemsworth. So I'm very excited. I mean, to sum it all up, I'm super excited for this movie.
Natalie Portman is my childhood crush, so that's like kind of where that enthusiasm comes from. And I'm like, no, she's like ripped now. Now I'm intimidated, and it's like,
it's like the She-Hulk picking up that guy at the end.
Exactly. Yeah, there's this whole aspect to it that I didn't realize existed when I was 13.
Oh, that's fantastic. I got my Natalie Portman fix today too when I watched the 3rd Star Wars movie. So yeah, that we love Natalie Portman, and we're excited to see what she's going to bring to the table as the mighty Thor. I keep getting distracted because the Twitch chat's going absolutely wild right now. Shout out to our boy Brandon Moore. He just gifted 3 different subs, and so I fired one in there as well. I love to see the community going wild. This
I
is
can't
fun.
see the chat right now, but I love Brandon. Brandon is such a sweetheart. He's just one of the nicest people online. If everybody online was like Brandon Moore, then this would be just heaven. It would.
Yes. I could not agree with that anymore. He gives me the motivation I need to continue doing this. Yeah. 100%.
Brandon hits us up every week on Twitter and always says something nice. And like 20 minutes in the Twitch stream, Ruben, we got to get ready to clip that, because that statement by Chris said it perfectly. If everyone online was more like Brandon Moore, the Twitterverse would be a much better place.
True.
All right. And so the next thing that we're excited to talk about before we get into some She-Hulk is, at the Disney upfront recently, Kevin Feige was up talking a little bit of Secret Invasion. And one of the things that was brought up is that Secret Invasion, a lot of it could be, in fact, taking place during the blip. And they're going to be exploring a lot of that. And I thought that was very interesting. I'm happy we're going to be learning a lot about that. And then it clicked that Nick Fury got blipped.
So he got blipped. Yeah, I actually pulled that clip from my show today. It's one of my stories on my show, and I was like, it's very interesting news to see how they're going to explain this. And then I just cut over to Maria and Nick being blipped away, and so maybe it's a really boring show. I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna how I don't know how the whole thing takes place during the blip, or is that the Skrulls being blipped? I don't know at this point. I can't keep up anymore. I don't know.
So to me, that kind of lines up with how they're going to tell this story. Is it can't all be set in the blip, because we obviously know Nick Fury is a main character.
And this just came up to me. What if this is what's happening to everybody who got blipped? What if it's like some sort of alternate place where they're at? I don't know.
That would be interesting. What I was kind of thinking is that maybe how the Skrulls start invading is No, I never actually got blipped. I was just hiding because of all the stuff that was going on.
Yeah.
I'm back here and I'm now a government official, or I'm up top here, or I'm up top here, stuff like that. That's kind of how I figured maybe they could start be weaving their way into Earth society a little bit. And I think that's interesting. We still saw Nick Fury up with them at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home, and they reference it in No Way Home when they say he's been off world. So it's really, I'm curious how it's going to all weave together. What do you think, Garrett?
I actually, okay. I didn't read the rundown before we were doing this, and I hadn't heard that news before. So this is actually live news to me. Very exciting. Sorry, I didn't read the rundown. I was working. I know you worked so hard on that, and I should have, but you know.
I read it, TJ.
Ooh,
thank you,
wow.
Chris. Thank you, Chris.
I was also working, but you know, whatever.
Okay. Well,
whoa, we have live breaking news on the Agents of Fandom Twitch from Variety. A Daredevil Disney Plus series is in the works, with Matt Corman and Chris Ord set to write. And so shout out the Twitch chat for telling me to look at my Twitter DMs right now, because we might as well get into a little bit of She-Hulk, because Charles Murphy has been heavily reporting that Matt Murdock, Daredevil, will be showing up in the She-Hulk series. And now it's being reported that Daredevil series is moving forward at Disney Plus. And so this is exciting because we've already seen him in No Way Home. We're probably going to see him again in She-Hulk. Rumors are we're going to be seeing him in Echo, and now he is going to be getting his own Disney Plus series as well, according to Variety. Wow.
Has this guy not earned a movie yet? Holy crap. Come on. What the
Okay. I get that, but most of me is just happy. Most of me is just has to be happy about this. But I definitely feel that. Like,
I'm joking, but I do. But now the real question though is this going to be a fourth season, like a continuation of what's happened, or is it a brand new thing, or are they just going to pretend that it's the same character, but they're not going to, you know, acknowledge any of the Netflix stuff? I don't, you know, that's a
so I guess She-Hulk and Echo are going to tell. Right, yeah. Like we'll probably get clues to how this is.
I know things that I can't talk about on here, so yeah.
Okay,
there we go.
Well, then we'll just leave it. We'll leave that at that.
We'll leave it at that.
And so yeah, when we start talking potential She-Hulk theories and stuff like that, if there's something we're infringing on, feel free, and I throw it to you, feel free to just throw right to Garrett. But we might as well start talking about that, because we got the She-Hulk trailer. And I guess before that, which would you prefer, Chris? Because it seems like you did want a Daredevil movie there, but how do you want them to handle this here? Do you want it to be a reboot, it's the same character but it's not acknowledged, or it's similar to what we saw in Multiverse of Madness, where it's, yeah, this is basically the same guy, but this is not the same universe?
Yeah, that's how I would like it. I would prefer it that it's not connected to the Netflix series, because there were decisions made in the Netflix series that I don't agree with necessarily. I didn't like the way they handled Elektra. I didn't like the way they handled that storyline. I didn't care for Defenders all that much. You know, to me, Charlie and Vincent D'Onofrio were the best parts of the show. I'm glad they brought them back. But I think the tone of it is just the Netflix series as a whole. Like Daredevil was the best one out of them for me, but I still thought they were very slow paced. They weren't my favorite, especially going back and at the time I really loved them, but as we've seen the Disney Plus series sort of mature this content and make it a little bit closer to films, I think they can do better now by Daredevil. And I think by completely rebooting it, you know, kind of gives you a clean slate to play with it in some new ways and explore some different aspects of the character. So that would be my preference. Obviously they're not paying me to make those decisions, so whatever they do, I'm fine with. But that would be my preference.
Very nice. What about you?
And as far as a movie goes, I mean, I think the guys earned that as far as like a bigger budget to do that. But the plus side of, you know, a series is more time with the characters, so that's cool too.
Yeah, I
Very true.
enjoy the intimacy of those shows, and I do understand how, like, looking back, maybe the pacing isn't entirely, fast enough, but I enjoy the stories for what they are. I recently rewatched the first 2 seasons with my girlfriend.
And the yellow tint to the first season, I just hate it. I hate it so much. I know what they were trying to do, but I can't stand it.
Well, how do you feel about the yellow suit we're probably going to be seeing him in She-Hulk? Not whether or not you think we're going to get it. How do you feel about that comic book suit?
I'd have to see it. If it looks cool, it looks cool. If it looks like crap, then no.
That's kind of how I feel about all suits,
I don't know. I mean, I do think that if they do the yellow suit and they pull it off, then it is a great precursor to get some yellow leather Wolverine going on in the future, because I'm excited for that. But yeah, I mean, I think that's based on those rumors of the yellow suit. If that is if that's the direction they go with it, that inclines me to believe that this is a new character, same actor, but a different overall universe that we're going to kind of see. And but only time will tell for sure. But I think that a decision like that would be made to sort of stamp this is a different guy.
Yeah, I feel you.
I'm of the same mind. Yeah.
And like that was something I talked about a bit with Professor X. And so spoilers for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Give me 10 seconds if you have not seen the movie yet, just mute it. But there was, with the Professor X and Multiverse of Madness, we got the X-Men 97 theme, and I just feel like can't be quite the same ones. It could be the very similar person, but it can't quite be the same universe because there'd be some contradictions. And right. I feel like that's the same case for this, like what I'd like to see with the Daredevil characters and the Netflix characters as a whole. Like I still want Kingpin to be played the same way, Daredevil to be played the same way, Punisher to be played the same way. I want Foggy back. I want Karen back. I want Jessica Jones back. Luke Cage, I'm good with coming back. The only one I don't want back is Iron Fist. But having said that, like I don't really want those stories to be part of the MCU lore. I would love for that to just basically be, these are the same characters, but that was in a different branch of the multiverse.
Well, and that is the beauty of the multiverse, right? Is that you can so if they can. What is that? That's not me. That's
I mean, that one I think is probably a Ruben. We might need a Ruben mute on that one there. So I don't know if everyone else can hear that. I think that actually might be just in our ears, but
I do think that that's the beauty of the multiverse, and that by establishing that you can have these different versions of characters, even played potentially by the same actors, is going to set them up for, like, they can do whatever they want at that point. I mean, I still think, like, even going back, like Chadwick Boseman's a good example, like, how they want to retire Black Panther and they want to retire T'Challa. Well, I say that you retire that T'Challa, you retire the 616 T'Challa, but that doesn't mean that T'Challa played by a different actor is not something that you could approach later on. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So the multiverse really just blows it wide open to be, many different versions. And I think that if this is going to be the MCU version, I don't think they're going to keep it connected to the Netflix versions.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. And so time to talk some She-Hulk. It's time to really get into it now. We've talked enough Daredevil. Now, the reason why, Chris, I said I'm so excited to talk about this is not even quite just from the trailer, but it's that She-Hulk since the beginning of the year has been my most anticipated Disney Plus show of the year. I can't wait for it. I'm team Jenna Anderson on this one. It's my number one. And basically just because it's not that I have the same adoration of the character. I think She-Hulk is great. She's not my number one or anything. I just can't wait for legal drama in the MCU. I can't wait for Suits meets MCU. And although I admit the aspects of the CGI weren't 100% best we've seen, that doesn't worry me yet, because for one, that's not something I care about that much, but also they got VFX companies are busy as hell right now, and they're backed up and they got time to whip it together still, I'm thinking. But it's just so fun. The vibes of this trailer were so fun. Chris, where did the excitement levels for you for She-Hulk rank before the show and before this trailer, and how did the trailer affect them?
I've been very excited for She-Hulk, and I'm still excited for She-Hulk. The biggest point of contention for me is the CGI at this point, and the CGI is terrible in certain spots, not everywhere. Bruce Banner looks great as Hulk. Abomination was a little bit of a downgrade from the shot they showed, and then She-Hulk in some shots she looked really good, but then there were other shots that like her hair didn't even move, and I was like, wow, this is like some PS3 graphics here. But like you said, I think they still have time to fix it. So I mean, 4 months is a good bit of time to get in there and polish it up. So I'm not that super worried about it. So I think the show looks like a lot of fun. Now, if you're somebody who's expecting a legal drama, I don't, by the trailer's tone, I feel like it's way less Matlock and it's more Sex in the City. But I think that that's a fun tone, and I'm excited to see what they do with it. I think Tatiana is going to kill it, and I'm excited to see where they go with it. And the fact that they're showing a lot of stuff in the trailers as far as Abomination and Hulk and things like that, Frogman, leads me to believe that there are quite a few surprises they've got up their sleeves that they're not showing. If they're willing to show all that right now, they've got some stuff lined up.
Yeah, very good point. And shout out Tatiana Maslany. I think she's absolutely perfect for this role. She's going to be amazing, and I have a special affinity to her because I'm from Saskatchewan, Canada. Tatiana Maslany's from Saskatchewan, Canada. I played against her old high school twice in basketball. One of my good friends who went there, he ended up playing 4 years of Div 1 at Colorado State. So they produced some good talent at that school. Tatiana Maslany, my guy Joe. So that connection's pretty fun, and I can't wait to see her in this show and see the character that she brings. And like that last scene of her carrying him to the bedroom, I think just like perfectly embodies the uniqueness of Jennifer Walters and what we're going to see in this show that we haven't seen yet in the MCU. What did this trailer do for you, Garrett?
Well, see, I'm excited for these shows for different reasons, right? I was so excited for Moon Knight because I'm a big like mythology guy, so I was excited to get into the cultural aspects of Moon Knight. I was super excited to see the mental health aspects. I'm so excited to see Miss Marvel because it's like a coming of age property that I think is going to be watchable for a lot of generations of people. I think it's important for young people to have a stepping off point to be able to get into the MCU. And I've talked about this before, so I won't harp long on it. And I'm excited for She-Hulk because I feel like it's got almost like a romantic comedy vibe. Like they're just doing so many different things. And that's why it was really hard initially to like rank my excitement for the show. I had to choose Moon Knight because I'm a mythology guy myself, but like they all rank really highly for me because they're doing such different things. And I think that's really, it really just shows kind of what the entirety of Phase 4 has been thus far, is they've really gone out in some different directions and done some awesome things. And rant over, I guess. I'm really excited for this show. This trailer hyped me up a little bit more than I was, and I already was excited for it.
Well, one reason too that I'm excited, kind of playing on your point about the different genres within the MCU, is that like I think like one of Marvel's strong suits is comedy. Like they're at their best, whether it's Guardians, whether it's Thor, I feel like they're at their best when there's a little wink wink to some of the stuff that they do, and She-Hulk has that tone. And and there's not been anything that's been deliberately funny in Marvel for me that's missed the mark. Maybe it's just because I think that this material is sometimes ripe to have a little fun with, but I like that tone. And so anytime something comes up that I think is going to be a little more on the funnier side, I'm all in for it.
Yeah, same here. I'm a big Ragnarok guy myself. So
I knew I liked you, Garrett.
I knew there was something here, you
There
know.
was a spark. I felt it too.
And then so a brief shot that we got from the trailer as well. And I mean, we didn't see this prior to inviting Chris, so this was a bit of a happy coincidence because we have a bit of a obscure comic book character aficionado here in Chris Killian, whether it be Condiment Man or what have you. But we got a brief look at Frogman.
It's Condiment King.
It's Condiment King. Sorry.
There you go.
I was so excited to say Frogman that I tripped myself up because we're getting some Frogman. And is this a character you were familiar with prior to the trailer, or is this somebody you had to read up on after you saw him, Chris?
I'm a little bit familiar with him from like comics when I was a kid, you know, but not like, I'm not super familiar with Frogman. And I did make a joke that it's funny to me that we've got a live action Frogman before we've got a live action leader, which is kind of insane to me. But here we are.
The world works in mysterious ways, my friend.
And it's not fair sometimes. It's just life.
It's not fair often.
And so what I found interesting too is there was a fun theory from our friend Vin at the Cosmic Circus, and they wrote that maybe that isn't Frogman in the trailer, and that could be Charlie Cox's Matt Murdock in Frogman's costume, because there is a comic book run that Matt Murdock essentially beats up Frogman and then dresses up in disguise as in his costume. And so that would be a very interesting way for them to kind of deliver that. And so shout out Vin for that theory, because I enjoyed that one quite a bit.
That's a fun theory, but God, I hope not. Holy crap. If they spend time with Daredevil in Frogman's costume, I'm going to feel like when Kingpin got nerfed by Kate Bishop, I'm going to be like, what? No, I'm gonna pull back right now from I'm a grown man. Why am I upset? Okay. But yeah, I hope that's not true, but it's a fun theory.
It is a fun theory.
I love how you pulled yourself back halfway through there.
Like, nope. This is I'm an adult.
That's maturity, and that is adulting right there.
I'm getting old, guys. I'm getting old, and I'm trying to own it, you know. So
props. The fight I want to see is Frogman versus Batroc the Leaper. Just a high jump contest, a long jump contest, a hand-to-hand fist fight, the whole shebang. Make a tournament out of it.
I feel like George St. Pierre just wins that every time.
Is he still alive?
Yeah.
Batroc's still rolling.
The character, is he still alive? Okay, I couldn't remember. I don't know. For some reason, I thought he got killed off in Falcon and Winter Soldier, but did he not?
Pretty sure he survived. I think he survived. Chat.
If chat tell us if Batroc survived or not in Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
I thought he got shot.
We're blanking.
But maybe I'm wrong, because I don't know. I don't remember. There's a lot to keep up with.
True. That is very true. And it's just more every week, really.
Yeah.
True.
You're right. It's a lot.
Yeah, and so we think so the first two chats, we have Damon Streams in the chat. I'm pretty sure he got murked. The very next one is Brandon. I think he survived. So we still have no consensus here on that one. But it's funny. I kept saying, yeah, no, we're done with Daredevil. It's time for She-Hulk. We're done with Daredevil. It's time for She-Hulk. But another Daredevil thing about She-Hulk I'm interested in is this is a romance I want to see on screen. I wanted to get some Matt Murdock and Jennifer Walters together. It's something we've seen in the comics. These are two of the how do I want to word this here? They're the two of the comic book character comics that get around with their peers more often than many others do. So it would be very interesting to see a little relationship between the two of them. Is that something you're interested in, Chris?
Especially if halfway during the relationships is when somebody tells him she's green.
Oh my God.
Come on.
I'm sorry.
I'm happy that we got Aaron Perrine in the chat right now, just in time to catch that joke of yours, Chris. Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic.
You gotta love it.
As a huge Daredevil stan yourself, Garrett, you want to see Matt Murdock and Jennifer Walters with a little romance in your romantic comedy?
I mean, you know, I'm never gonna say no to that. I mean, to any superhero, like, relationship on screen. If you want to give it a little bit to me, give it a little bit to me. I'm here for it. Give me a little Icarus, Cersei. Give it to me. I'm okay. I'm an adult. You can have the Miss Marvel projects, and we can have the Jennifer Walter projects.
Yeah, there you go. And
jail time. I'm prisoning myself.
Yeah, prison. I'm getting hold on. Let me get my Jim Viscardi jail meme out, or emote out here. We have to use the Phase Zero ones that I've subscribed to since we don't have ours out here yet. So I just keep firing pictures of Jim, Jenna, and Aaron in the chat right now. But that's okay. It's something that I want. If I don't get at some point in the next 5 years, She-Hulk carrying Matt Murdock into a bedroom, I am going to be very disappointed here. And
we have such different feelings on that.
I know. I want it bad. I want it so bad.
Yeah, you do. I'm glad that this is waist up, this camera angle, man. Jeez.
This is a PG-13-ish show, man. Come on here.
Ish.
You're already the one that's over here describing these fantasies of yours.
Yeah, that's true. You did get a little fan fiction there for a sec.
You were like,
and this is why we haven't done live shows very often until now, but here we are.
So and now you know why they keep me off live shows.
There you go. That's what happens when you bring a stand-up
every comic. Now and then.
That's what happens when you bring a stand-up comic onto your live shows. Things get off the rails a little bit.
I'm here for it. You know what? I'm here for it. I don't care. We're our own bosses. Let's do it.
This is true. There's nobody to tell us no. And so, Chris, one thing I want to know from you is they've done a pretty good job of keeping this show under wraps in terms of the villains, the main antagonists. There's been rumors of Titania and stuff like that, but in terms of a plot, if you do know stuff, then feel free to just pass this on to Garrett. But what are you kind of expecting from the plot of this show? Because we really don't know much. We've heard of the type of Matt Murdock-esque cameos, but we haven't really heard much of what this show is going to be in terms of superhero lore.
Yeah, that has escaped me as well. I don't really know. Initially, my hope that I think has kind of gone out the window for very sad reasons is that we were going to finally see Red Hulk in this show. I don't know if that, I don't know if anything was filmed, before Williams' passing or not, but I would love that. I would love to finally get to see Red Hulk in live action. But other than that, I don't really have any. Another guy that I would love to see brought back, speaking of the leader, would be Tim Blake Nelson, because the fact that they're kind of bringing Tim Roth back to the fray. I would love for them to, because that's just one of those open-ended sort of plots that never got tied up, that I would love to see them revisit eventually, because and Tim Blake Nelson's such a good actor. I would love to see, Leader finally make his big debut on there. But I don't know that that's the case. That's just me and wishful thinking. So those would be the two that I would be really excited to see, but I don't know that that's, if there's any possibility of that happening at all, or if they've just kept it under wraps really well.
That would be pretty cool. And I think whether it be Hulk villains or just starting to moderately introduce some Agents of Smash type characters into the MCU lore, I think that could be how they start going about this. How about you, Garrett? Is there anything narratively or even just like cameo wise that you're kind of hoping to get out of this She-Hulk movie that we haven't, or She-Hulk show, that we haven't heard about yet?
Yeah. So I think that we're going to get a little bit of exposition and kind of information of what happened between like Endgame and Shang-Chi, and specifically Shang-Chi's like post-credit scene, right? Where we see Bruce Banner as a human with his arm in the sling, and there's kind of some questions surrounding that. So I feel like we're going to bridge some gaps because we saw him hulked out in the trailer. So I think that this happens before, I think, the Shang-Chi post-credit scene. So I'm looking to get some exposition on that. And other than that, I'm ready to just go on the ride that the show's ready to take me on. It seems like it's going to be pretty fun, pretty funny. So I'm not really expecting anything or hoping for anything. And I think that's That's the way that I've
Can I
enjoyed
say-
projects.
Yes, I think Garrett's perception of this is the best way to go about it, because this is how you end up not disappointed by Multiverse of Madness, is by not thinking too far ahead and getting your expectations up too high, and just enjoying whatever they have to offer for what it is. And that's the best way to go about it. It's hard to say that being in the business of being on the hype train, but I do think that like keeping your expectations realistic is always a good way to go about it.
And I learned that
from
through
today's show: be like Garrett Blaney and be like Brandon Moore.
Oh gosh, be more like Brandon. Be more like Brandon if you learn one thing. But no, I did learn that through like, I think Eternals was really my first MCU movie where I was expecting a lot narratively in terms of like expanding the cosmic side of the MCU, and I didn't get that and came out of my first showing like pretty disappointed. And then when I watch it the second time, I was like, oh wow, this is actually a good movie when I'm not expecting things. And I did a little bit better on Multiverse of Madness. I still, I did expect this to answer a lot of questions from Spider-Man No Way Home, from Loki. Like there was a lot of questions that they threw out there since Endgame, and I thought this is the time to like tie it up. And those things obviously didn't happen, but when I walked out of the movie, I was like, wow, I really enjoyed that movie for like what it was. And so my pre-expectations didn't ruin that movie for me. So I'm evolving going forward, getting better movie to movie. So Thor, Thor could suck. I think I'm gonna love it. That's where I'm at right now.
There you go. And that was a tough lesson I learned with Iron Man 3. And that was something that actually did get tied up in Shang-Chi that made me feel a lot better about Iron Man 3. But I had these expectations for what I thought the film would be. And when it didn't go that way, it made me not like it as much. And so that's something I've grown to appreciate more. But what you touched on, Garrett, is I think something She-Hulk does have to answer is some answers of Shang-Chi. And that it does seem like absolutely this happens pre that film, because we see Bruce still hulked out in Professor Hulk mode. He's not in his sling yet. And also we get pieces of the Abomination in that trailer. And so
wait, you're saying that you think She-Hulk takes place when?
Before Shang-Chi.
Before Shang-Chi, but he is in the sling at the end of Endgame, right? So I mean,
I mean back as Bruce Banner
in human form, not in Hulk.
So he is
form.
Bruce Banner he's Bruce Banner again in the post credit of Shang-Chi.
But do we know that he doesn't have the ability to transform, even though he is Professor Hulk?
I guess not, but
they haven't fully explained it, so I guess that's like something else.
Those are the answers I want, essentially, is what's going on with that and what's going on with Abomination. Why is Wong training him?
Because like in Endgame, he could be a human when he's like setting up all the time travel stuff. Like he doesn't really need to be Hulk there or Professor Hulk there. So if he could change back, like why wouldn't he just be Bruce Banner in those scenes? Like unless he's like doing something where he needs to Hulk out and like be strong, like when they actually go to the 2012 timeline, then he could become Hulk. But like because that movie like really made me think like he doesn't have the ability to change back and forth. And then the post-credit scene of Shang-Chi, he was a human, so and they didn't explain it, so I feel like there's something there.
I don't think in Endgame he did have the ability to transform, but if this is an ongoing process, I could see where that's sort of explained that like he essentially evolved from like Savage Hulk to to the way he was in Ragnarok to Professor Hulk in a 5-year span, right? And it just kind of glosses over how that happens. It just happens or whatever.
It says they like merge both of their like consciousnesses or something, right?
But I could see that as eventually, like as he maybe gains even more and more control over the power, that he could do that. But who knows? I guess we'll find out soon, or we won't. It could have just been just a big mess up on Marvel's part where they were like, crap, we should have made him Professor Hulk in the end credit scene. They're gonna
give it to me.
Now, on the note of not getting our expectations up too high, I'm going to do the opposite of that.
Always.
And so shout out to Extreme Prodigy in the chat for donating those bits. We thank you so much.
That's Connor.
That's Connor. Oh,
Connor.
dang,
Shout out Connor.
Connor's hit me back. Connor's hit me back for his stream once. And so one thing that so yes, I think they have to explain that. But here is my big brain theory here: the big bad set up at the end of She-Hulk is going to be. Oh, not yet. It's going to be too early for that because we already saw Bruce. But what this is going to set up is bad Hulk, villain Hulk. I think that's what this is going to set up. I think he can't transform back and forth. He's stuck in Professor Hulk. He eventually figures out how to get back to Bruce. Eventually, when the next time he goes back to Hulk, that's when we are going to start seeing a lead up into World War Hulk and Hulk gaining his rageful, strong self back. And
then Icarus,
see.
Flying out of the sun as Sentry, and then from
Icarus going
right?
to fly out of the sun with his new adapted powers, becoming
Combining
Sentry
to
fight him. Yeah, there it is.
Or they're going to send Wolverine after him. Oh,
all of it. But yes,
both?
I think
why not both?
I think we are going to see She-Hulk end with Professor Hulk going back to Bruce, and I think that is going to translate in the future, 2 or 3 years down the road, to us getting some very angry Hulk messing a whole lot of stuff up,
which we don't get enough of lately. I've missed Berserker Hulk so much. We need him back. Professor Hulk's fine. He's fine, but no. Mm-mm.
If there's one thing that I would have done to improve Avengers Endgame, it would have been, one, adding Hulk into a bit more of that fight at the very end, but two, when they're going back in time and he and Steve tells him to smash and he goes like, well, I think it's a bit gratuitous, but whatever. After his like 2 or 3 joke smashes, I would have loved if just like a little Hulk kicked in and he actually just like and hulked out a little bit. Like, I think that would have been like just a perfect little addition to give us that small little taste of what we want there. And I think that would have been an awesome way to do it. But we've been talking about this a long time. It's time for us to transition into a little bit of Star Wars mode, because yesterday, Disney up front, we got a ton of Star Wars news. And obviously the biggest headline is Obi-Wan Kenobi coming up on the 27th, 9 days, next Friday. But there was a lot more news we got as well. And so for a full recap of that, head over to agentsoffandom.com. Our man Jaden Duran wrote a nice piece recapping all of that stuff. So you can head over to agentsoffandom.com and read his article on that. And I'm just going to briefly touch on some of these things before we talk about Kenobi. And that is, where am I here? The Acolyte, we're supposed to get it summer 2023. This is going to be a project that happens 100 years pre-Phantom Menace. We're going to get a totally different look at Star Wars that we've only really seen in comics, and it's one a lot of people are very, very excited for. But before that, we're going to get Ahsoka at the start of 2023. Preceding that, we're going to end 2022 with some Mandalorian season 3. We are getting all the great Star Wars shows on Disney Plus coming, and there's also announced that John Watts is apparently going to be working on a Star Wars Disney Plus project in the future with a bit of coming of age type vibes. Now, Chris, I want to ask you, of all these potential Star Wars projects coming to Disney Plus, long term, short term, which ones are hitting the spot for you the most? Which ones are you most excited for?
Obi-Wan for sure is the thing that I'm most looking forward to, the thing that I'm most actively trying to avoid anything about, because I don't want to see anything. I don't want to know anything. I just want to revel in the, you know, the meeting of Obi-Wan and Darth. But Mandalorian is the short answer. Mandalorian has made me a Star Wars fan again at the heart of it. I think that Jon Favreau and company have created the perfect Star Wars characters in Mando and Grogu, because I mean, you essentially have Mando, who's covered up the whole time, and then you've got Grogu, who is doesn't age, so he can stay an adorable baby for as long as you need him to, and that's it. I mean, because I love the original trilogy. That was my favorite. I didn't care for the prequels all that much, save for a few moments in the prequels. I mean, obviously I love Darth Maul, and I love, the Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon Jinn, Darth Maul fight. And there's some moments in the Revenge of the Sith that I enjoy. And I didn't care for the new sequels all that much either. I mean, those were okay, but they didn't do it for me as a Star Wars fan. Mandalorian has really hit that spot for me more than anything else has recently. So anything to do with Mando, and I'm there. So those would be the two things that I'm most excited for. I'm also very, very excited for anything to do outside of the Skywalker saga, because I feel like there's just such a huge, just so much Star Wars lore to explore. And the fact that they keep staying in this like 60-70 year time period, I'm excited to see what's beyond that. So because then it's kind of, then you don't have to try to squeeze these things and these characters into certain spots, and it's just kind of wide open, and you don't have to worry about plot holes as much.
Yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense. And the Star Wars stuff that hits home the most for me, that I enjoy the most, is the animated stuff. And I know that's very similar for Garrett. So Ahsoka is the one that I absolutely can't wait for. I'm really hoping we get a little Rebels action with that. Plus, Ahsoka is just my favorite character in all of Star Wars lore. Garrett, are there any of these shows that rank above Obi-Wan Kenobi for you, or does Obi-Wan take the cake?
All of those shows rank above Obi-Wan Kenobi for me.
Even like Andor and the Acolyte, both of them.
No.
Okay.
Acolyte, yes. Andor,
Acolyte,
no.
yes.
Acolyte, yes. Acolyte, hell yes. Andor, I could kind of care less about Andor, if I'm going to be honest with you guys. Like, the parts of Andor I'm excited for don't revolve around Andor. It revolves around like the rebellion and other stuff. Andor wasn't like, I love Rogue One, and Andor just wasn't my favorite part of that movie. So I'm like, oh, they gave him a show. All right, I guess I'll watch it. That's kind of how I feel about that. Acolyte, give me all the Acolyte. Acolyte is my number 2 below Ahsoka. I gotta have Ahsoka number 1, because like I'm hoping for some Rebels content. And all of this is not to say that I'm not excited about Kenobi, because I'm very excited about Kenobi. I love Star Wars, and I think there's a lot to play with, even though we know like a lot of parts of the story. I think there is still a lot of room to work with. There's some characters, some new characters like Cal Kestis that we can work in. There's some really cool things going on there. And I'm excited for just the direction of the Star Wars universe. I'm excited for a John Watts project. I'm excited for a Taika Waititi project. I'm excited for supposedly a Kevin Feige Star Wars movie that I keep hearing a lot about. I mean, that seems like it's going to be dynamite to me. So I think there's so much to be excited for in the Star Wars universe. Give it all to me. Bad Batch season 2. Come on. There's a lot there.
There's a lot.
Visions
to be excited
season
about.
2. Come on. Give it to me.
Big time.
Give it all to me.
Big time. There is absolutely a ton to be excited about. And Chris, I want to throw it to you just regarding Obi-Wan here, because like you said, you grew up on the prequels and you love them. And while we won't get into many plot points, because
that's not what he said. That's not what he said.
Sorry, just like, but sorry, not the prequels, the original trilogy.
Yeah.
That's what I meant to say. Because
I knew what you meant. That's why I wanted to correct you.
I'm gonna correct you.
Yeah, the original trilogy, not the prequels. And so while we're going to avoid plot points, because I'm with you, I'm trying to go in very not spoiled here. And so I actually don't know much. I haven't read any leaks, nothing like that, just the trailers. But something I found interesting, and that I feel like you may as well, is in a recent interview, something that Ewan McGregor said he was very happy to be bringing to the role this time around with Obi-Wan, in comparison to the prequel trilogy, is more of Alec Guinness's style of old man Ben Kenobi into the role, and not just be young Obi-Wan like he was in the prequels, but bring a little bit of old man Ben to the role as well. Are you kind of excited to see that aspect? And then what aspects of this show are really drawing you in so much?
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's one thing that I think would be amazing. And I think Ewan McGregor's awesome. And I think he's going to kill it just the same as he always has. But I mean, obviously the big thing is seeing like another, like, there's so much, untapped potential with Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. I mean, so that's the big thing. Right. But the other thing is seeing, how he handles, I'm because in the original trilogy, Luke sort of knows who old Ben Kenobi is, but it doesn't feel like they have much of a relationship, if any relationship. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play that out, and if they do communicate at all, or if he just sort of watches them from afar, and Obi-Wan sort of turns into this old curmudgeonly just hermit there on Tatooine or whatever. So that's going to be that I'm just kind of interested in seeing how they handle it, and whether or not I'm gonna either love it, or if it's gonna frustrate the crap out of me, and I'm gonna be like, this makes no sense in connection to the original trilogy. But that's kind of my problem in general about like what I mentioned earlier, is I'm excited for them to get away from this time period, just because they can start exploring things without having to try to squeeze it all in to fit into the original lore of George Lucas's trilogy. But yeah, that's the stuff that I'm most looking forward to.
Yeah, and that's interesting you bring that up, because in the same interview that was brought up by Deborah Chow, that she said the biggest thing we were looking at was respecting the canon, but also having an original story. So combining those two was obviously a very important part. And to me, the thing I'm most excited about is just getting more Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi, and getting more Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader, whatever capacity we're going to be getting it. I can't wait. What about you, Garrett? What are you most looking forward to going into this show?
I'm wondering if we're going to see any young Leia, any Bail Organa, if there's going to be any checking in with like Yoda, see like, hey, how's Dagobah? Are we like, what's I'm interested to see how it's going to connect to other things. I am a little bit worried because I know that there's, like Chris said, there's a lot of stuff that we know, and so there's decisions that they could make that will be like, but how, that doesn't make sense, and I feel like there's a lot of potential areas for that, but I have trust, and I'm excited. I think some really cool posters have gone out for this movie, or for this series. I've enjoyed the trailers that they've given me. I haven't really had too many qualms with the Inquisitors, how they look, and I'm excited to. That's probably what I'm most excited for: the Inquisitors and like the underwater base. To see that,
yeah, I think that's super fair.
Yeah,
those are the underwater base from
Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah, that's hell yeah, me too. I can't wait for any Fallen Order references of any kind.
Just get me. Connor says Fortress Inquisitoris. He knows because he just played through the game on stream for us. So thank you for that, Connor. And that's a cool last name.
Connor's been ripping through the streams. He played Fallen Order. He's playing Dragon Ball Z Kakarot on stream for Agents of Fandom right now. And so yeah, make sure you tune into those on our Twitch. Thank you to everyone who's been in the Twitch chat today, staying active. This has been a lot of fun. If you're watching it on YouTube later on, hit that like button, help us combat the YouTube algorithm overlords. Chris does a lot of YouTube content and stuff like that. He knows the life. He knows you need the likes to get the stuff out there. And before we get out of here today, we've had tons of giveaways recently. We've got almost all of them done. Congrats to our winners. I know we have a couple of them, including M in the stream right now. She just got one of our giveaway wins, and so I'm going to be sending her later this week this Anthony Francisco signed book with a hand-drawn baby Groot. So congrats to M for winning that one. I'm going to be shipping that out this week. And we have one more giveaway going. Head over to our TikTok and you can see the giveaway we have going over there. Agents of Fandom on TikTok. Our people, Jaden, Layla, Ariana, Elijah, they've all been crushing the TikTok game on Agents of Fandom behalf lately. So we thank them, and make sure you check out that page. We have a super fun guest coming next week. We figured we'd talk some Obi-Wan this week and not do our primer right before, because our guest next week, if you've ever seen the show on Netflix, The Circle, it is my favorite reality TV show. From season 2, we have Lee, aka River, who he was playing as in the show, joining us to talk some Marvel stuff. So we're super excited to have him on, because I'm a big fan of that show, and he was one of my favorites contestants on the show when we had him on there. So that basically covers all the things I had to get out of the way. Chris, thank you so much for joining us today, man. This has been absolutely a blast as always. It's always fun linking up with you. We got extra crap from our guy Ethan, fellow Agents of Fandom, because we were stealing you away from him in your very busy schedule. We were able to get you in this week, and we are very thankful to have you on, because you've been wildly busy with the content lately. So thanks for squeezing us in.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. Thank you guys for having me. And tell Ethan that I'm very sorry, and that I'll make it up to him, and we'll reconnect sometime next week. It's just hard. I mean, a daily show is hard enough, and then you throw in all the interviews and the traveling and things like that go with it, and it's I have no time to do. I think this is the first podcast that I've done outside of like anything comic book produced in 3 or 4 months. I don't have time to venture out a lot to do anything. So
yeah, I was gonna say, it's amazing you get done the stuff that you do get done. So we appreciate you making the time for us. That's really amazing.
Thank you guys. Thank you very much.
And yeah, I better confirm that Ethan had zero animosity towards you whatsoever. He was just jokingly grilling us for being.
No, Ethan was really, I was trying to make it work for tomorrow to talk to Ethan, and but our times were not connecting with the times that I have to produce my show, and then the times that he was available to do the podcast, and then I was also like, but I'm going to do TJ's podcast, so he was like, you son of
yeah, we appreciate that. That's great for us.
And so yeah, thanks so much for coming on. And where can the people find your stuff if they need a little daily distraction?
Well, obviously, you can follow us. Comic book is the primary source, but now Daily Distraction has its own YouTube channel. So you can just search Daily Distraction on YouTube, follow me on there. That's the only place where the entire show is going up, because Instagram's a bastard now, and they don't promote any videos that are really longer than 60 seconds. They're only promoting reels, which is why we had to move the full show off of there, and decided to focus it on YouTube. But we're still posting, spin out clips on our Instagram and on our TikTok and Twitter and all those things. You can find me on Twitter at Chris Killian. And on Instagram, I'm at CK Comedy, because some guy named Chris Killian won't respond to my messages.
You gotta love.
You could always just make it Chis Killian, like we titled the Twitch stream.
That's true. That's true. I could do Chis Killian. Just take an R out, and it's fine. But yeah, that's the main spots to find me. And I try to respond to anybody who shoots me a message. If you interact with me long enough, I might follow you back, who knows. But yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it. And did I do okay promoting myself there? I'm the worst at that. I always hate that. It's my least favorite part of doing these things.
I agree. It sucks, but you did a great job.
You did fantastic.
Not what you did.
I was worried.
It was honest, but not self-serving. It was great.
It was perfect. Ideal.
Okay, you guys are the best.
And so that'll do it for this episode of Agents.
Wait,
of
one more
Fandom.
thing.
Oh, no,
one more thing before we go. I would love to shout out a very cool thing being done by some Agents of Fandom members.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Thank you.
Augment is a movie directed by Agents of Fandom writer Isaac, and the VFX was done by our very own Ruben, and it's coming out on Amazon Prime tomorrow. So go check that out by some very talented Agents of Fandom members.
Ruben, congratulations.
Yeah, I can't believe I almost forgot to drop that in. Thank you very much, Garrett. Isaac is a wonderfully talented writer and creator, and we are so lucky to have him join in to be part of our group. And he created this film, and it's going to be going to Amazon tomorrow. And our guy, Ruben, the VFX wizard, the magician behind all of our graphics, the one who put together our intro video, all of our stuff, all the beauty to the content that we're able to provide to you. That's all Ruben, and he did the VFX for that as well. So you can check the link. He just dropped it in the Twitch chat right now for Augment, premiering on Amazon Prime tomorrow. You can stream it. So make sure you check that out. Created by our own Ruben and Isaac. They are absolutely fantastic. So now that will do it for today's show today. Thank you so much.